There's a loud noise suddenly. Okay. Do we know where that's coming from?
Nope.
Okay, it
No, you got
stopped.
it.
There we go. We're
Yeah.
live, everybody, and sorry about that loud noise. We're so excited to present our next guest. We are joined by constitutional superwoman, Texas hero, and candidate for state senate, retired school teacher, salon owner. I'm talking about Shelley Luther. Shelley, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hi, Shelley.
Well, God
Welcome
bless
to the
you,
show.
Shelley. We
Hi,
featured
thanks,
you on our
guys.
show. We featured you on our show many, many times since your first struggle with the Gestapo. We've been covering you, and we've got some. In fact, we've got some real close friends that have been part of your Patriot protection system at your
Oh,
salon.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share everybody something about you that I don't think anybody's heard before. But our
Uh-oh.
very, very close friend, he said that they were out front to protect you in case some untoward event happened. And he said when the goons showed up, that you put your hand held them back, you walked through there, and he said this lady is absolutely got a backbone of cast iron. She walked up to all of them. She told them how the cow ate the cabbage, and she said she talked to them for a few minutes, and they left. So he said she's so articulate. She's such a brave gal, and he said all of us then took a vow to redouble our efforts to make sure that you were protected. So from an insider, not from an insider, from a third party, you've been validated as somebody that whose daddy taught you what to do with your backbone. So God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Maybe,
Yeah.
Shelley, you'd like to, because we have a lot of people, not just from Texas, you'd like to give a little bit of background on what happened to you and how that went through. So now where you got to where you're at now.
Well, I mean, I was a school teacher for 13 years, and I just decided to, do something different. I bought a salon and redid it myself. And I'd had it about 2.5 years when COVID hit, and we were shut down for about a month. And we were having issues. We couldn't, we had no income coming in and couldn't pay our mortgage. My hairstylists weren't able to feed their kids. And so we decided to open. Of course, when you open and there's an executive order, there's penalties for that, but no one knew what they were. So we just kept moving forward to see what the penalties would be because we didn't feel like it was fair. The governor picking winners and losers and, trying to justify whose jobs were essential and whose weren't when it didn't matter what the job was. It mattered how people were feeding their families. And so I ended up going to jail eventually after about a week or two. And I did not apologize for what I did when the judge wanted me to apologize. I got a 7-day sentence and about $7,000 fine. And I ended up serving 2 of the days. And the Texas Supreme Court released me early, but I could still go back and serve the remaining 5 days. And I'm still in a lawsuit with the city of Dallas, who's trying to take my salon permanently right now and still trying to sue me for money, amongst other things.
Wow.
But Shelley, the fact is, an executive order never has penalties. They're really a suggestion. They can't fine you. They can't stop you from doing what you were doing.
Recommendations.
Yeah, their recommendations. It was such a draconian deal, and it shows just how in the bag the entire political system is. Because what they did to you, outside of any constitution, and this gets back to the point. Are the courts of law, or are they corporations that are doing whatever they want? And the judge was such a bad guy. Listen, he absolutely defamed himself, showed the world what he was, and even the liberal Democrats had to look back and say that guy is absolutely hurting the cause. But whenever our founding fathers defined what our citizen statesmen should be, they were talking about you, people that were involved in the community and people that would step in and fight for what was right for the people. And then after a period of time, you go back to your normal life. So, you're doing what the founding fathers said. And there's a couple of things that we want to ask you. Did the Republicans have the talk with you to tell you what you're going to have to do to be a part of their team.
Well, I've been warned about the talk. I will tell you, if they do try to have the talk with me, it's not going to go well.
Good, good. And
I think
This
they
is what
already
we
know
love
that.
about you.
Yeah,
I know. We watched you, Shelley, when you first started, and it was so heartwarming for all Americans because nobody was standing up. Everybody was afraid of this, afraid of that, and you stood up. And so a lot of Americans stood up with you. A lot of Texans stood
all
up
over.
with you.
We had so much response from all over the United States and actually foreign countries too.
Jason's from New York, and he was standing up with you. He said, she's an
absolutely.
American hero, you know.
And you know what? The people in the United States are always looking for a hero, and so you have carried that gauntlet very, very well. In addition to that, you're a very strong woman, and you're an excellent role model for all these young women that really have no direction, and they're being demeaned by everything. So they can look at you and they say, "Look, this gal stood up. She got in the face of the goons and absolutely is walking the walk and talking the talk." So you cowgirled up. God bless you.
How's the campaign going so far, Shelley?
Wow. So Governor Abbott, as soon as I announced that I wanted to run, he called a special election because of COVID, I guess, and gave me 34 days to run a campaign, which is crazy because the district is over 1 million people and it's 14 counties wide. So I think he and the establishment thought that I could not get across to the people and let them know that I was running. And they had their guy that they wanted in there, and that was already a shoo-in. But what happened last week was there were 6 of us, including a Democrat, and it was called a jungle type election. And I actually got first place in votes by 164 votes. And their establishment guy got second. But because nobody got 50% of the vote, it's a runoff between their establishment guy and me. And he has not announced when that will be, but we're thinking probably December, first week of December or so.
Wow. And you know, Shelley, as Jimmy was saying, I'm here in New York, but we've been following your progress from the beginning because, you know, so many people are experiencing kind of exactly what you and your employees and your family have experienced. Governors just arbitrarily shutting down businesses, leaving huge corporate businesses open. And you were really the first to come to light to challenge this kind of thing. I've got a friend, you know, where I get my hair cut. I've come to know the people there. I go there for 20 years. And this is really the way your industry works, right? There aren't so many corporate-owned chains. It's a lot of small businesses, and they've been just crushing them.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot right now, the big thing is where I lease out the space. So I have the sinks and I have the salon set up, but it's a lot of individual business owners who rent space from me, and they just pay me weekly rent, and I don't take commission or anything from them. So what they're doing is killing thousands, millions of small business owners is what they're doing, which is really the heartbeat of the nation. They're killing them.
Yep.
Were you surprised at how much love and support you mustered from all over the country?
You know, that's been the most overwhelming thing so far. And it's continuing in my candidacy because I just cannot believe all of these people, strangers, that want to help me for free, like volunteer their time. It's a miracle. I can't, it gives me faith back in America again, honestly. It's overwhelming in a good way, but it's really overwhelming.
Well, you know, so many people are looking for a leader, looking for someone that will stand up for their beliefs and their ideals and their trust in God and their things, you know, that they believe in. And they've been hit so hard for the last, 30, 40, 50 years about their beliefs and their ideals and their morals, you know. And when someone finally stood up like you did and you said, I'm not going to back down, everybody stood up with you because that was all it took. You know, it was a great thing. But Shelley, talk about your stand on things. What, you know, you have some great things you say about what you believe in.
Platform, your foundation.
So I'm a very strong conservative, and people didn't know that before all of this. And I think that's, COVID, even though it was horrible, there's a lot of good things that come out of this. We have our silent majority that is now coming out and being vocal and being active, which is what we need, because the liberals are very outspoken and very loud, and it makes them think that they are bigger than us and overpowering us when that's not the case. So I'm so glad that people aren't afraid, and they're going out and speaking out about what they believe in. And for me, I realized that this is something that I had to do. And so my biggest three things in my platform: number one, of course, the government overreach. We need to make sure that Texas, for sure, since I'm running for a state position, Texas should never be shut down again for any reason. There is no law that can shut a state down in Texas. There's nothing. They can hold a special session and do all of they want, but you're not shutting Texas down while this is happening. That should never happen. I also want to abolish abortion. I think that we are way behind on that. And if you want to talk about Black Lives Matter, well, let's stop killing all the Black babies that are being murdered in Texas. And the last thing is, and you wouldn't even believe this, I mean, especially people that kind of stereotype Texas, but we don't have constitutional carry in Texas. And what that means is if you can legally purchase a gun, you don't have a felony, you should be able to carry that gun with you anywhere without a fee and without any kind of registration or license. And that's not something the government should control. That's a God-given, unalienable right, your Second Amendment. And the government needs to step back on that. And definitely these crooks and thieves are not abiding by any kind of rules and regulations. And they know exactly where we're not allowed to carry guns, and we follow the rules. So I think that we need to be more on the offense instead of defense in this situation, and take our Second Amendment back.
Amen.
Amen.
The world's gone just a little bit crazy with this idea of defunding the police, and it's already taken hold here in New York City. There's been $1 billion cut from the $6 billion NYPD budget. Now, a lot of people look at $6 billion and they say, well, that's a ridiculously huge sum. But to just arbitrarily chop 20% of the budget, I agree that there's, any huge bureaucracy, there's ways that we can make it more efficient. But the problem I'm observing, Shelley, is that just around town, would-be criminals and even mischievous punks feel emboldened by their impression that the police aren't going to do anything. I've been assaulted, 6 times since this pandemic began. I was born in New York City, but I've lived here continuously for 30 years. I think I've been assaulted 7 times in 30 years, with 6 of them happening in the past 8 months.
Well, Jason, those cuts are punitive. That's the sad part. All over the country where they're cutting back the budgets. In Austin, Texas, they took $150 million out of the budget of the police in Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas is looking like San Francisco now. And those are punitive cuts. There's not any legitimate reason for that to happen. So they're punishing us by removing the only blockade we had against the rioters.
Well, the biggest problem you're going to have with that as well is tourism. No one is going to want to come to those cities if they're not safe. So if you cut the spending, you're also going to have less money because the tourism is going to lag. So it's ridiculous. It's just going to be a snowball effect. And he's right about Austin. I was just there a couple months ago, and it was blankets and blankets and blankets of people laying out on the streets. And it's sad. And Governor Abbott was talking about bringing in our state police to take care of the situation because Austin wanted to defund their city police. I don't believe in that. I pay taxes for the state police. And if Austin wants to vote to defund their police, then they made their bed, they lie in it. And they should have to stay there. And, the policemen, I feel sorry for them. We'll take your police officers if you want to cut them. We will gladly employ them here. But if you're one of those people that voted to defund the police, you sit there and you lie in that community. And so you can see what you've done.
Yeah, exactly. And I heard there's a group in Austin now that said they've had enough. These city council members are going to be voted out or taken out. They're not going to have that anymore in Austin. So I'm glad we see a group standing up there.
Shelley,
They have to.
Yeah, they have to.
What kind of alternate world do we live in where some bureaucrat in the health department dictates how our lives are going to be led? I mean, isn't this a crazy thing?
Well, what kind of state do we live in when we have a single man making laws for an entire state?
Yeah.
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 We tried to go register our car. We live in a county with not a lot of people that's had 250 cases, and
James White is our almost worthless senator from here.
He's not a senator. He's a congressman.
Yeah.
But we went to register our car. They want to take my temperature before they were blocking the door. And I said, "You can't take my temperature." And she said, "You can't come in. It's the law." I said, "It's not a law. You can't make a law with a pen. You can't make a signature law." And there were about 6 people sitting outside, and they all said, "Yeah, that's right. You can't do that. It's not legal."
Well, it's a HIPAA violation.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
And really, what everybody should ask him, where's your license to practice medicine? Because if you don't have one, then I'm going to file a complaint. That's a big fine.
That's a felony, though.
It's not anyone's business what your temperature is. That's your personal information.
Yeah, that's right.
That's exactly right. And we have a friend up in
letting the government kind of do whatever they want. And honestly, COVID is kind of a small blessing, waking us up saying, wait a second, or else we would have just gone, just kept going day by day and letting them slowly take away our freedom and liberty. And, Governor Abbott paying, I don't know, $3 million or something, $3 trillion. I don't even know what it is for this contact tracing without even asking anyone if they wanted that. If he would have voted for that, everybody would have said no. And we've got people that are being property taxed out of their homes.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And you're going to you want to spend all this money on contact tracing? What is wrong with you?
Oh, he's a swamp
but the
monster.
worst part about that, all the people that were contracted are using their personal computers, and they're going to have all our private medical information in their systems. So they've stripped us of all of our medical secrecy and everything like that. That's absolutely criminal from top to bottom. Did you anticipate the nasty attacks that the establishment has been foisting upon you since you started this campaign?
So I expected some nasty attacks, but wow, they got creative on me. I mean, they when they don't have anything
they make it up.
They make it up. And when I tell you, like, they are saying that I slept with my own dad.
Whoa.
What?
Jesus. Is your dad still alive?
Yes, he's a 75-year-old, 26-year Marine veteran. I had to talk him off the ledge of getting on a plane and coming here.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Shelley, not to get personal, but were you born in Texas?
So, no, I was born in Great Lakes, Illinois on the naval base with my dad being a Marine. And we probably lived 10 or 12 different states before 2nd grade. I grew up on the military base, mostly in Orange County, California. And then I got a softball scholarship in '93 to UT Arlington, and then finished my degree at Sam Houston State University. And I've been here ever since.
And then
but my parents and their parents are native Texans.
So you've got Texas in your DNA. You were a teacher before you became a businesswoman owning this salon, enabling other people to have their own small businesses. I'm glad we've got you here, and it's really nice to speak with you because I knew I felt some kind of connection to you. What I'm doing here with Crowdsource the Truth is sort of similar to what you've done in your hair salon. I've got all these different shows that enable independent podcast producers to sort of come together on this one platform, and there are people making up lies about me to try to destroy what we're doing here, having a negative impact on other people. And I have to say, without even knowing you, I'm so proud of you to see someone who just stands up and takes the system on by going right to the heart of it. There's a lot of people who crap around tweeting and, I mean, look, even I'm just producing videos. You are going into the heart of the lion's den. It's absolutely amazing. I want to make sure that our viewers know, even if they aren't in Texas, in the district where they can vote for you, they can go to ShelleyLuther.org and they can support your campaign by clicking on the red donate button and helping Shelley finance her campaign. We need independent people, moms, business people, teachers, people who've been out there in the world and know what these issues are firsthand, not some, stodgy, politician who's sitting, just collecting money to try to kick the can down the road and defund the police and do whatever kind of nonsense all these governors have been doing. It's really outrageous. Now, in your role as a Texas state senator, once you win, what do you think you would be able to do in a best case scenario? I know that a lot of people don't understand what the limitations are of these state Senate positions. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to diminish it. It's a wonderful first step for somebody who's never been in politics. But what is your expectation? What's the best case scenario?
So my biggest goal is, I'm only one vote, and I realize that you can't go in and change the world with one vote. I do have a mentor in there in Senator Bob Hall, who's the most conservative state rep as far as a senator is concerned, a state senator. And he's going to mentor me and help me so I don't get buried in procedural things. But I want to prove that regular citizens can go be state senators, and we can flip the government back to where it's regular citizen people. I want to show people that you can be a school teacher, a farmer, a business owner, and get back to what our founding fathers wanted in our government. Because right now, our politicians are too detached from what the people want. I'm still feeling the sting of being 2 months behind on my mortgage. So when I'm making decisions or voting on certain bills that come through, I still feel that sting when I want to think about which way I should go on a certain bill. And so with that in mind, I might vote down more bills than I will say yes to. But in the meantime, that will keep more government out of SD 30. If I can do that and keep the government out of our lives, I feel like that would be very productive.
That's what Ron Paul did forever. Ron Paul voted against every tax increase the whole time he was there. Ron Paul's a great guy.
Yeah, I think what you said, Shelley, the other night, I listened to you talk after the vote was over, and you said every time someone like me goes in, a swamp monster goes out. And I think that's so perfect because, and you were talking about this a minute ago, and Jimmy and I were talking about this, there's an underground of this nasty government that's been going on and taking more rights and more freedoms away from us all the time. We're just kind of like the frog that they put in the water and turn on the heat slowly, until it doesn't realize it's going to die. And I really think this COVID has brought all these monsters out of the woodwork.
Awakened everybody.
And we're seeing them in our face now.
Yeah.
And it's a time to stand up. It's a time to take back our country for we the people, not for government has become to me organized crime.
Yeah, it is.
Shelley, they've also said, well, what qualifies you to be a senator? And I'm like, well, I'm 37 and I live in the state. What are you talking about? It's like, right. Whatever the age limit is, I don't even remember. But it's like, no, you don't have to be an attorney. And no, you don't have to know someone or be a millionaire or all of these things that our current state senators are. That's not who you're supposed to be. And that's what our biggest problem is right now. We need regular people in there.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's exactly right.
I want to address that comment real quick. Sorry to interrupt, JoAnne, but that not an attorney comment is extremely important, Shelley, because another swamp monster governor who has risen to national notoriety as a result of the COVID lockdowns and overreaching abuse of her power is Governor Whitmer of Michigan. Yeah. Now, the Supreme Court last week ruled that she exceeded her mandate and that her unconstitutional edicts were not allowed. And just today, a few hours ago, it's come down that she's somehow challenging this. She's ordering the court to, I mean, she's finding some way to weasel around this. It just reeks of lawyerly lawfare, playing games, kicking the can down the road, and allowing her to continue to oppress the people of Michigan while a bunch of lawyers and politicians sit around and decide how they're going to abuse everybody's rights. Are you on top of this? Have you heard about that situation?
Yeah. I am very familiar with Governor Whitmer. As a matter of fact, my husband is from Michigan, and we made it a point to go visit Carl Menke, the barber that was having so many issues there. He's like 80-something years old. We actually drove out to Michigan at the beginning of all of this, and we held a press conference there and stood up against Governor Whitmer. And actually just a few days after we went there, the Michigan Supreme Court ruled in his favor and said that she had to leave him alone. So he's been able to operate since then, which is amazing. And we were so proud of that. But now they are voting completely, or the Supreme Court is completely against her. And I think it's amazing. I think it's perfect.
I saw today that the Attorney General of Michigan said he will not prosecute anybody who doesn't follow her rules. So he's taken the teeth out of anything she does.
Perfect.
That's amazing.
That's what should happen.
Yep.
You know, we're not very far off from that here in Texas either.
No, well, I'm suing Governor Abbott too. So, I mean, we just need to, I don't think the people that, like even the Attorney General or the people that work under the governor, or definitely not the police, I don't think that they want to be enforcing these rules. The police, for sure, I've talked to several of them. They do not want to enforce mask mandates and things like this. It's ridiculous. They have better things to do. It's these liberal cities that we're having the issues with. And my salon is still in Dallas City, but I am not having people wear masks in my salon if they do not want to. And I mean, I haven't been cited yet, but we'll see.
Wow, that's great. I mean, you're leading the charge, Shelley. You're certainly an inspiration to people around the country, and that is great news about what's going on there in Michigan. I mean, I'm just overwhelmed, and I mean, you're such a powerful force. You've got your Superwoman costume ready for Halloween, right?
Oh, absolutely. Listen, that's my comment, Jason.
Wonder Woman.
She's wearing the robe of a hero, a patriot, and a role model. You're wearing it very, very well.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Now, Shelley, I know there's a lot of legal restrictions on campaign finance, and I certainly don't want to suggest anything that would get you jammed up, but are there ways that people who are watching, if they want to help you financially outside of the campaign, the mortgage, the salon, the people who are working for you? I don't mean to overstep my bounds if that's something you don't want suggested, but I know how difficult it is to do this type of stuff and try to earn money at the same time.
Yeah, we can't suggest anything outside of the campaign right now. That would get me in trouble. So really, if anybody wants to help, helping us with the campaign is the best way they can, because if I don't, I've poured a ton of my money into the campaign already. So if we're not having to pour our own money into the campaign, that helps a lot.
There you go. So people should go to shelleyluther.org/donate. And even if you're outside the state of Texas, you can support the campaign. Shelley is absolutely a role model. She was a teacher, business owner. She's a mom. She's there trying to protect people's rights in Texas and Michigan. I mean, just even as an activist, you're doing tremendous work, Shelley. I'm overwhelmed, really, because we need more people to be doing what you're doing. I have to figure out how to run for some kind of political office, but I'll probably be shocked.
I've got a gotcha question for you now.
Okay.
I want to know if the duet was pre-planned or was spontaneous event.
With Ted Nugent.
Oh, right.
Oh, no, that I didn't even know he was going to be there that day.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That was great.
Jason, she's a very accomplished singer. She's got a band with Tim.
Yeah, with Tim.
And she's been entertaining for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Do y'all want to meet him? He's right here. Do you want to meet him?
Sure.
Yeah.
Come here, Tim.
He's the piano man, right?
Yeah.
Yes, he actually has a doctorate in classical piano, but here's Tim.
Hello,
Hey, everybody.
Tim. Congratulations.
Hi, Tim.
Nice.
Yeah. God
Luckiest
bless
guy
you
in
all.
Texas. You got a hero for a wife. Girlfriend,
I
sorry.
know. That's crazy.
We hope to come hear you guys entertain sometime.
Yeah. We're going to send you by separate cover a company we know that makes Kevlar underwear because you all probably need it.
So, Shelley, when you first set out to run, because, I mean, the other day I looked up, what do you need to do to run for mayor of New York City? And I started Googling a little bit, and then I found out that Rudy Giuliani's son might run, and I was like, oh, the people probably vote for him. You must have felt kind of overwhelmed, you know, this prospect of doing something you've never done, bureaucratic process. How did you figure it out, and what sort of things have you learned that you could share with us, maybe could help somebody watching do what you're doing?
So, I mean, this might sound a little cliche, but ever since I went to jail and started making all the decisions about the salon, I've had this voice inside of me, and it's really God leading me to all of my decisions. And a lot of it, I would just tell you, a lot of it was I didn't even research a lot. I just followed the voice inside my head. And I knew I was up against a very tough race. I knew that there was already an established politician in there that the governor already had greased in, they called it, and it was a basic shoe-in deal. And this voice inside my head said, I will protect you. I will lead you through this. Do it. And so we just did it.
That's amazing.
And how much abuse did you get? Didn't they close polling stations in your area, in some of those counties, and ran your people around where they weren't, where they didn't get to vote on voting day?
Yes, that did happen. According to some of the voters, they said that they weren't legally supposed to vote there. And yeah, according to some of our voters, they did not get to vote that day. But I always say that whatever's supposed to happen will, and the good comes out in the end. And we came out votes anyway. So.
Yeah.
You were told to do it, and when you listen to your divine intervention, it works out real well.
Well, you know, when the Dallas Morning News had the correct information before the Secretary of State's site had the correct vote information, they delayed it over a day. So all the national news, oh, you lost, you know, and all this other stuff. And the truth of the matter was, you actually got more votes.
Yeah, she said that.
Yep. Jason, let me tell you something that happens in politics, especially here in Texas, probably in New York too. The money that is available for campaigns is controlled by like the Republican Central Committee or Democratic Central Committee or whatever. And they can funnel money to the candidate that they really want. The good news about Texas now is the Central Committee here, which we now have a real strong conservative guy as the head of that. Colonel West. He's a great guy. And they have censured Abbott. They've censured Abbott for cause. First time we've ever heard of that. And
Ron Paul said it's unprecedented.
Yeah.
It's never
Really?
happened before.
And so,
you know,
the ability of them to buy off or outfund a candidate like Shelley, I think, is going to be a real tough road to hoe, because she has so much ground root support. The whole state knows about her. She is absolutely a sterling candidate. And the guy that she's running against is such a speechifier and a liar. He when he first went in
6 years
to
ago,
Congress, he said he was going to be for
8 years.
He's going to absolutely be out front for open carry,
Constitutional
carry. And
Right.
then he never ever put his name on any bill, and he was so bad, Jason, that a lot of his fellow congressmen made a video about him and said, this guy's a liar, he's a no-goodnik.
Who
And
was
so
that guy,
Shelley
Jimmy?
has had the platform she's got.
What?
He's now come back and
What'd you say, Jason?
Who was this person?
Drew Springer is his name.
the man she's running against. And he's now come out and said, oh, I'm for constitutional carry. Don't believe him.
He said that before.
Yeah, one of his fellow congressmen said this guy would go climb a tree and tell a lie rather than stand on the ground and tell the truth. So he's a liar.
Well, you know,
Absolutely. You know, I have to say, Shelley,
speech of fire.
whatever happens with the election, in my book, you have already won a stunning victory because, as we're discussing, you've come to national notoriety, but not for any kind of selfish reason. It's not like you're on Instagram promoting something. You have stood up to something that is really oppressing everybody. And again, I mean, I really hope you're successful in this campaign and that it's just the start of your political career, because we really do need people who are taking these public offices. And look, even if these guys do succeed in defeating you, your engaging in this process is going to expose that, just like you're already showing us that they're doing these emergency elections, giving you 30 days. It's a relatively new phenomenon that we have this talk show where we can have you on and discuss all this stuff. Certainly, the local news that is being funded by the same people that are funding these campaigns of these traditional politicians, they don't want to hear about this stuff. So this is really a revolution, and you're at the forefront of it.
I just think that you're right. And it to me, it's not even really about me. I'm kind of a representation of the people's voice saying they're sick of the politicians and the same old, kind of the swamp type things that have been going on. And if I do get voted into office, that just means there's the majority of the people that are sick of what's going on. And maybe it's not necessarily all about me, but it's the fact that I am the opposite of what's going on right now.
Wow, I love the hairdryer Lone Star T-shirt. Can people buy those T-shirts anywhere? I'm trying to sell it for you.
There's a gentleman. His website is called the Pew Pew Jew. He's the one that made those.
And you definitely did not do this to get thrown in jail to get a free orange jumpsuit, did you?
Actually, it was green and white stripes, but no. That
tell us a bit about that.
Not the most fun of my life.
Tell us about that experience. I'm sure you look to me like somebody who very probably hasn't been to jail before.
No, it used to be a joke between my dad and myself where it's like, oh, at least I've never been to jail. And now we can't say that. So I definitely got the full jail experience, strip searched and peed in a cup, like all of it. Humiliating.
Wow.
It was very humiliating on purpose, and they put me in a very old tower of the county jail that was old and disgusting, and it had the most infestation of COVID-19 at the time. I definitely know they were using me as an example.
Holy cow.
Weren't they releasing criminals at this time too because of the COVID?
They were releasing violent criminals and saying that they did not have room in the jail, but they put me in there.
Yeah,
this is so disgraceful. I mean, the sequence of events that have happened since March, I'm looking at Twitter all day today, and there are these DNC dopes who are just tweeting about, Trump is risking the lives of the Secret Service people. I don't think these guys realize that the entire purpose of that job is to risk your life every single day so that whoever it is that's the president can carry out the function of being the president of the United States. And whether people love Donald Trump or hate Donald Trump, there is a very strong argument to be made that the United States needs to present the president as being safe, secure, and strong, even if he's sick and in the hospital. So there's so much hate being directed at strong conservatives who want to shine a light on this corruption. There's been an outpouring of support for you, and I don't want to focus on the negative, but I do know what it's like to receive threats and hate speech and hate mail and all that. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of that sort of stuff that might have happened?
Sure. Of course, with the Black Lives Matter organization, we've had threats of the Salon burning down. We've had threats. We've had to have security, armed security at our home, especially I have my 17-year-old daughter. We had to put a new gate system on our home. And no, we've had death threats on our kids, on my family. I mean, it happens all the time now. And anytime that I announce that I'm going to be at a rally publicly, I have to have armed security with me at all times.
Wow.
Jeez. You know, that's our story too, Shelley. We've been attacked over and over again for almost 10 years now because we were eyewitnesses to the war crimes in Libya. We've had the FBI, the CIA, Mueller sent the FBI out to us, but we were captured by Al Qaeda. We had like 20 AK-47s in our face in Libya, and
We were taken their torture
we were
center.
taken to, yeah.
By the CIA put us on the kill list. We were to be killed and chopped up and burned. Got out of there with 3 miracles, and we've been attacked by our own
See,
government.
divine
since
intervention has been with us. Miracles have happened to us so many times, so we see it in you so much. And it's, you're so able to stand when you know you have that. You fear nothing.
You become fearless.
Yeah. That's what it is. And it's so hard to explain. So I'm so happy that you're saying that, because a lot of people said, you didn't even look scared when you were talking to the judge. And I'm like, no, I didn't have any fear. Like, I had zero fear. I knew I would be protected and taken care of. And I'm not really like a people person, as far as I'm not really social, but now I can go into rooms of people and talk about this platform as if it's nothing. And it's so strange that I just have this strength and courage to just walk up and talk to people about these things now.
That's what our friend told us. So when you walked through their defensive line and you walked up and you got in the face of the goon squad,
you had no trepidation.
Said this gal has a cast iron backbone,
but
and
she's
well spoken and attractive, and he said she was everything that people were looking for, a hero.
When you listen to the voice, when God speaks to you through you and tells you this is what needs to be done, and you do it, you don't have any fear. You know, it becomes what you are, and it's so wonderful to see it in you.
Incidentally, Shelley, we sent you our DVD. You should get it tomorrow, the next day. That tells our whole story.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to watch that.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to watch.
Well, and
I
the
can't
thing
wait.
is,
Seriously, I want to see it.
yeah, and for people who are perhaps seeing our show for the first time, tuning in to see Shelley, it's important that people visit LibyanWarTheTruth.com. That's Jimmy and JoAnne's webpage, where they tell their whole entire story. People can order the DVD, Escape from Al Qaeda. Jimmy and JoAnne are the only people known to have escaped capture and certain death at the hands of Al Qaeda. General Michael Flynn has referred to them as the best source of human intelligence on Libya that the United States has ever had. And people who sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty are going to be able to order the DVD. You get free shipping when you sponsor them on Patreon. So, Shelley, what's next on the campaign trail for you? When is the election, and how are the polls looking?
Well, Governor Abbott hasn't announced when the next special election is. We're thinking the first week of December, but he hasn't announced when it will be. So I'm just waiting for whatever the next attack ad is. I'm just curious to what crazy things I've done next.
Yeah, I know.
But obviously they fear you, right?
Yeah, well, it's
It
funny
has to be.
it's
It's desperation, honestly.
When we were in Libya, we had been doing business, oil and gas business in Libya since 2007, and we were called back on a fact-finding commission in 2011 when NATO attacked Libya. All of that was a lie. It was all a false flag. But while we were there, every day some new lie would come out. Women were being raped. I said, what is it? The CIA just sits in a room and writes down, oh, this is a good idea.
We were sitting in a really exclusive coffee shop at it's a 6-star hotel there, and there's guys behind us that are reporters, and they're talking about things that were happening. We were there. Those things weren't happening. And that's when JoAnne said, do you think these bastards just make something up every day?
I didn't say bastards.
Okay, I said it.
That's Jimmy editorializing. But this was the Rixus Hotel, wasn't it, that you guys were?
Yeah, the Rixus Hotel.
That was the Rixus Hotel.
But it's amazing because what the fecal material they're going to be throwing at you it's going to get worse and more stinky and everything else.
You know who had to save us, Shelley? The Russian ambassador saved us in Libya.
Wow.
He called us and he said, your government's not going to help you. He said, but we would like to.
Wow.
So, the story's amazing. Our story's amazing, but your story is happening right now, and it's so wonderful. We wanted, to share this with everybody we know.
Yeah,
Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much.
People can follow Shelley on Twitter You want to go to Twitter and you want to
can start
follow
a new one,
Shelley
Jason.
Luther. Yes, at Shelley Luther. She needs some more followers, and people can retweet what she's tweeting and share ShelleyLuther.org. Shelley, how has Twitter been for you? We know a lot of conservatives are getting banned, and certain social media sites are not allowing us to question certain things. Have you run into any of that kind of online censorship?
Not not yet. Twitter's kind of new to me. I only started my Twitter account like recently, just a few months ago. And my public Facebook page is pretty recent too, but I have a pretty good following with just starting those two things.
Well, have no fear. Now that you're rolling with us, you're sure to be blocked, banned, all that sort of stuff.
Can't wait. Sounds fun.
You know, that site on Facebook called Open Texas, they have 90,000 plus on there, and they follow Shelley.
They're all watching
all
you
of them
tonight.
are watching Shelley.
Did you see the Trump
Unfortunately-
tweet about you? Was that yesterday?
Sorry, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Just real quick to share this thought. Unfortunately, I can no longer share Facebook stuff on air because after 12 years, Facebook has totally banned not only Crowdsource the Truth, but my personal Jason Goodman page for reasons they won't explain. There's international friends who I have no contact with whatsoever now. And just like that, I was, deleted from Facebook.
Shelley, can you see Jason?
Mm-hmm.
He looks like a bad guy, doesn't he?
No.
I'm up to no good over here.
But
He
did
does
you hear
look like
what
a
he
New
said?
Yorker, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's right.
Trump tweeted about you yesterday.
Yeah, I think, didn't you share that? You saw the tweet that Trump did about you.
I saw that. I don't know if that was actually Mr. Trump or not.
Oh,
He
Well,
has spoken about me before, like when I first got out of jail.
Right.
yes, he was
We'll
watching
give him
you.
credit for that tweet.
He knows
I'll
you,
take it.
follows you. I think he stands with you.
I hope so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, certainly, you've got a huge political career ahead of you, and after you win, what's the term in the Texas State Senate? How long will you be there?
Well, what's left of this term is only 2 years because it's a special election seat. And in Texas, the Senate seat is usually 4 years. But because we are redistricting, everybody has to rerun again in 2 years anyway.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of complicated stuff you have to learn about just to even be involved. I mean, it's kind of like the law, kind of like being in a lawsuit. You're in the middle of this thing that you don't even understand. And now, so you've also got lawsuits, legal cases going on. What's going to happen with this judge who was so remarkably rude and unjust toward you?
Well, unfortunately, being remarkably rude is not against the law.
Right. True.
Wasn't there a groundswell for the guy who's running against him for his?
It's a lady. Her name is Jessica Lewis. Please vote for her if you live in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
against
true.
what was his name? The judge's name?
Eric Moye.
Yeah.
Bad news.
Sorry, guy. Pitiful.
Well, we want to be careful that we don't get Shelley in more trouble with the guy.
Oh, no,
but
I publicly talk about how horrible he is.
it's a big problem because we've got these judges who just sort of do whatever they want. It's happening all over the place. Michael Flynn being persecuted. We really need a kind of a reconfiguration of the federal judiciary to protect citizens. These judges can't just get in there and do whatever they want to people. I'm unable to
Jason,
bring up
this
to
judge-
this guy.
There's a
This
bad.
judge issued an order that she had to shut down, which had no basis in law, could not be based on what the government mandated, and then he found her in contempt of court because she wouldn't kiss his backside. That's really what happened. There was no basis in law. He could not issue that shutdown
Contempt of
order. He
court.
couldn't do that. And then because she didn't follow it, he hammered her for contempt of court, which the judge could do a contempt of court, but the basis of that whole
How he
mess
got there.
was phony.
Yep.
It was a mess.
There's a real bad judge in Houston right now too. I think her name's Hidalgo. There's a big problem going on in Houston too.
She's a
hopefully
mayor, or she's a city official, or a mayor or something.
Yeah, that's
Shelley,
right.
hopefully as you continue in your political career, this can be maybe an issue that you address in the future. These judges need to be held accountable. They are not put on earth to ruin the lives of other people. And if they're unable to, preside over these matters without getting their own personal vendettas going, they need to be removed. It seems like a very difficult thing to do right now.
Well, the good thing is they're elected positions, so the people need to do their job and get rid of them.
Right.
That's right. And there was a groundswell against him, I think. I mean, I read that people are really, when they saw the scene in the courtroom when he said, if you apologize to me, if you apologize to them, and you said, I'm going to apologize for feeding my children. Everybody stood up with you and, raised their hand and said, thank you. It was great. Because people go into courts and they're afraid of these judges, which is crazy anyway, because they're just people,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting also because, you see, I was reading a bit about this when it first happened, and I know that there was a whole issue. He's black, you're white, Black Lives Matter is all going on right now. I mean, this is a guy who was born in 1954, was a young boy when the civil rights movement was happening. I wonder to what extent he was feeling like this was his opportunity to kind of stick it to somebody. We don't want judges that are seeking revenge. We want judges that are involved in justice. So hopefully there will be some, impartial. Even though you went through this ordeal of going to jail and having all these legal problems, hopefully there's a silver lining to that cloud at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah. I hope so. I think he was, my opinion of him is that he was more arrogant and showing you, this is my power. I can do whatever I want. That kind of an attitude. It was more of an arrogance, Jason.
Well, I don't want to, again,
there's actually some internal emails that were found on Discovery where he was telling another judge that you basically can do whatever you want.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How? Yeah. Whoa. That's unbelievable. So there we go. See, you're getting to the bottom of some of this corruption already, and you're not even in office yet. I have to say, Shelley, I think you're really going to make a difference. Do you see yourself advancing in politics after this?
Look, I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow, Jason. So, no, I'm being honest. It's not something that if you would have told me like 6 months ago I would be running for some political position, I'd have told you you're a liar. So it's whatever God has in store for me, and I'm going to follow that.
Yeah. Weren't you encouraged? Shelley, I think, was encouraged by a lot of people to run. There were a number of people they wanted her to run for governor, for president, for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a good first step. Those other offices are only going to be more complicated to get to. And I'm sorry if I'm kind of getting the horse before the cart a little bit here. I'm just so excited for you to win and get in there and start to shake up some of these establishment politicians that have been putting everybody through the rigmarole here. We're getting close to the end of our hour, Shelley. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover that we haven't gotten to yet? I feel like we've been monopolizing the conversation because we're so excited to have you here.
No, I think the conversation's been great, and you guys have asked the right questions about getting regular people into office, and I think that's my main message. I just want to go in there, like you said, not just shake things up, because I can work with people. It's just the transparency that I want to provide. I want people to know exactly which ways our government is voting and what they're telling you compared to how they're voting. And I think the people have the right to be more involved in the government, and maybe social media be involved in that, because we're too far distanced from, we're too separated from what's going on there. And is it as if we're not allowed to know what's going on there? And basically they work for us. We should know exactly what our employees are doing. So That's how I see it.
And they need to be held accountable. That's the thing that's missing. None of our politicians are accountable for anything they do. They get away with murder.
Well, they give themselves.
You can't hold them accountable if you don't even know what they're doing.
That's right.
That's very true. That's very true.
Well, so God bless you. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. You've been a hero of ours, and we've been supporting you on this show and other venues. When you first started having your 40-day travail through the desert, I know it's been a lot more than 40 days, but you're wearing your cloak very, very well. As I've said many times, you're a hero, you're a patriot, and you're a great role model for young women.
Yep. Women need to stand strong now.
Yeah.
It's real important. It's real important.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
Mom,
I
thank you
appreciate
so
you all
much.
so much. No, thank you.
Texas is definitely producing some hero women. We've got Shelley Luther. We've got Sidney Powell. Have you had any communication with? Is she in Dallas as well?
She's in Dallas. She's in Dallas. Yeah, Sidney Powell.
I
So,
have not yet.
well, there's a lot of strong conservative women in Texas, and I mean, we really need that now, unless people want to just basically turn over our cities to brain-dead dopes like Joe Biden, who want to defund the police and let criminals run roughshod over everything. Somebody ran up to me in the street like 2 days ago about to punch me in the back of the head. And if it wasn't for me having a camera looking in reverse, that probably would have happened. So I think a lot of people who are watching Crowdsource the Truth share your concerns, Shelley. They share the concerns of your future constituents. I'm so glad that Jimmy and JoAnne were able to connect with you and bring you on the show tonight. And we're going to follow your campaign, and certainly would love to have you back anytime. I wonder if we have any people in the chat with us right now who are in the district. I want to make sure that people remember that they can go to ShelleyLuther.org. And even if you're not in Texas, even if you're not in her district, you can support the campaign by clicking on this red donate button, and you can send a financial contribution to Shelley Luther's campaign for Texas State Senate. Send a message to establishment Republicans that we don't want to defund the police. We don't want to steal everybody's money so that they can get rich. Everybody's still wondering how Nancy Pelosi can fill up her freezer with $15 ice cream. And while Joe Biden is so happy to have released his tax returns, how the hell did that bum earn enough money to pay $3 million in taxes as a public servant his whole entire life?
That's true.
He's a swamp monster.
Well, Jason, what we're seeing is the mouse that is roaring. Probably the prettiest mouse I've ever seen. But the mouse is roaring. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
God bless you guys. Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us, Shelley. Wonderful to have you on the show. Perhaps you will join us again someday when you will crack the glass ceiling and become our first female president. But until then, I want people to vote for Shelley Luther for Texas State Senate. I want to thank Jimmy and JoAnne for inviting Shelley tonight. I want to remind people you can sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne on Patreon by going to patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty. And you can sponsor Crowdsource the Truth on subscribestar.com/Crowdsource the Truth or patreon.com/Crowdsource the Truth. And we can't bring you amazing guests like Shelley Luther without your support and sponsorship. So huge thank you to all the generous sponsors that make this show possible. Shelley, we'll see you soon, and Jimmy and JoAnne will be back next week. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Have a great night.
God bless you. Thank you so much, Shelley.
Bye, guys. Thank you.